Chris Forbert, I think, coming in to play the role, so we're going to change your name. I'm like, yes, because that gave me the opportunity to be able to be Duncan MacLeod, create a character that I could create that would be different than the original Highlander, have some of the same factors about this character, similarities in a sense, but it's a totally different guy. I mean, two brothers are the same, but they're different, you know, and that's the same thing. So when he came in, I was so overjoyed, and actually it gave me a week to learn some choreography, sword fighting, to do other things to really prepare it, which I was very grateful for.
Thank you.
I remembered that there was a second question that I wanted to ask. Did you ever think it was weird that during some of the quickening scenes, there always just happened to be like a giant wall of glass or something?
You know, that was picked specifically by the director there because it looked good. You know, I just so happened. Mind you, I've done quickenings in a lot of different places. I've done them in water. I've done them on a race stadium. I've done them in the middle of the street. I've done one, and I am, so that you all know, the only actor in history, I should be in the Guinness Book of Records, that has done a sword fight and a quickening on the Eiffel Tower in the same day. Yeah, I mean, but the quickenings were interesting because, you know, today you have a lot more visual effects. They were more practical effects back then. So when you're doing this, and things are flying, more often than not, some things landed in your mouth. Oh, I got as an ember would go flying into my mouth. So, you know, and there were things that you've got to be careful when you have practical effects of things flying past you. I wasn't on the set, but I know a set where the stunt coordinator was standing next to the camera, and the camera's back here. They had all the explosions, the piece fell off, hit this guy in the head and killed him. So, you know, and even during filming Endgame, the very last scene, I was up on this platform, very large platform, and those were big explosions. Those were huge explosions. And the cameras were over there, over there, over there. One of the cameras was way over there. A bolt this big was behind the camera. So it could have quite easily come off and hit somebody in the head. So they were, you know, controlled, but you always have to be very careful as to what explosions you don't really know where it's going to go.
Thank you.
So you're obviously a master at handling swords. Describe your perfect sword. You know, there's a lot of different styles of swords out there. So.
I actually like the katana, personally, just because of the weight of it. I like the balance it has in the middle of the handle, just past the handle, as well as the length of the handle, because it's a two-handed sword. There's a lot of time when you're cutting, when you actually go through cutting things in reality, which I've done, you realize, and this is with, if I talk about technique, is that it's not this action that actually you cut with, it's this action. And the reason for that is that the sword is a blade. It's a length of steel, a length of wood, whatever you want to call it. What you're trying to do is make the tip move faster than where the blade is. If you're doing this, it's all moving at one angle. But if you're doing this, the tip is moving faster, which means like a golf swing. When you're using golf, you're trying to get the head of the club to move faster through the ball to hit it, so you hit it perfectly. The same thing with a cut. When you're cutting with a katana, you're trying to make the head move fast enough so it can cut through this thickness of rattan mat or whatever it is you're cutting. So that, and I've done that. I have photos of it that I can actually cut through that one. Coming upwards harder because you've really got to get there. So that's why I like the katana, because I understand the mechanics of it. I do like the hilt sword, the sabers as well, just because of the motion of them. So the weight's okay on them, but I also am very familiar with the katana, and I like bow staff, and I like short swords. I mean, I can vary, right? But you know, I also like, I learned into one, which is Kali. Some people call it Kali, some call it, it's Filipino stick fighting, which is short sticks. The Chinese have short swords, they're this big, which is very similar, which I kind of like because I like two-handed. When I first started doing Highlander, you would see me doing this. It's supposed to be up here, you know, but having this out here, you have the danger of having that cut off. You know, and it doesn't look very good, you know, the Highlander going like this. So the style of fighting, I mean, if you're fencing, there's a whole different way that you're fencing. It's just the style I was used to that I feel more comfortable.
What's the most challenging fight scene you've ever had to do, Highlander or otherwise?
I've done hundreds actually of sword fights. It's kind of hard to pick. The challenge, I say the challenging one would be probably Endgame in a sense, because we had a lot of issues that were technical issues. It's not necessarily. The one person, as I talked about, Bob Anderson, who was, for me, a painter. He was a creator, and what he used to do was he would walk into a space and create a sword fight around the space. Rather than a lot of people, what they would do, they would create a sword fight and put it in the space. When we did Endgame, we were shooting in Romania to start with. We did the choreography for the final fight between me and Kel in this derelict place that we did, and we choreographed it for that. We spent 3, 4, 5 weeks choreographing that. It just so happened Bruce Payne got sick, so we shut down production. We had to go to London 3 months later. On top of that, I also had a form I was doing with the sword that's in the movie that I was going to shoot there, which again got moved to a different production space. When we got to London, we were doing it on a rooftop instead of in like this whole other area. So again, we have to change the choreography. Doing that over and over and over and over again, one of the things I teach on the sword experience is the fact of this. When you put something out on your hand like this and you do this, you guys have seen this motion of me when you do this, you start feeling the pain in the shoulder here. When you pull it in like this, you're bringing in your center of gravity inwards so that you're now controlling it with your body rather than your shoulder. When you're doing sword fight after sword fight, a lot of the time doing a lot of this motion, I started getting a lot of shoulder issues because the amount of sword work that I put into my shoulders. That particular fight, I was literally in pain by the time we started shooting again in January, because I'd done like 5 months of this choreography of this fight. So physically, it was probably one of the hardest fights I'd ever done. I also had done the fight with Donnie Yen inside that was a whole other technical issue. It was really interesting with Chinese, and you see all the Chinese films like well, you can't do that with normal weight swords. They need to be really aluminum, much lighter, so that they move faster. So they look good on screen. The same difference between reality and the movies. So when Donnie Yen came in, he was using a long weapon with a two-handed staff. He wanted to do it, it was too heavy for him. So he said, I need this to be made out of this. Well, okay, great. Now he had something that was heavier than what I was using, so I had to break mine down. On the day of the fight, we had to actually take balsa wood. Now you imagine, I've got a huge stick. Now I've got balsa wood, which breaks really easily, because we had no other materials at the time, and making a katana out of the balsa wood. It would constantly break. But what I learned was he's moving this thing really fast. It looked amazing, but it looked like it was real steel, but it wasn't. It's the sound effects you get in movies that make it look like that. So there's a lot of things that technically you don't see on film. You get persuaded that you are seeing this, and in reality they're a lot lighter, not quite as heavy that you normally use.
Thank you.
You mentioned your charity earlier. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, my charity is the Peace Fund. It's called Peace stands for Protect, Educate, Aid Children Everywhere. I started it in 1997. The reason I started it was because of Highlander, actually. The things I found in Highlander, there's a lot of values that MacLeod had that I felt were genuine, that could be transferred or shown to other people, other kids. And I had so many kids every day outside my trailer waiting for my autograph. I thought, well, if I've got the ability to give some sort of inspiration to kids, why can't I do it in other celebrities who are on a bigger scale? So I started the Peace Fund, which is now has partnered with a lot of different organizations, and now we're trying to move our ideas more towards education in a sense. by educating people about AIDS, educating them about water, educating them about different things. We are still aiding, but we are taking the educational part of our mission statement and putting it towards that area. So, with that said, we've helped kids in Haiti, in Cambodia, in the United States, in Hungary. We've got a baby respirator in a place in Hungary. We built playgrounds and dental clinics in Romania. So we do a variety of things based on what that charity really is looking to accomplish if they have a solid structure already without a lot of overheads. Because there's a lot of smaller charities out there. In Dallas, for instance, alone, there are 31,000 charities in Dallas alone. So how do you decipher which one's any good? So there are a lot of them doing the same thing. What I do with Peace Fund Radio, which is I've had for three years, Peace Fund Radio, I talk to different celebrities, different charities, what's going on, where it's going on, how it's happening, so you can find out in your area if you want to support something that you're touched by. Because I find that a lot of kids or people that start their own charities, because a lot of kids are doing it, a lot of kids are 10 years old, 12 years old, are starting amazing charities today. They do it because they're passionate about it. And we are all passionate about different things. So whatever that thing is, whether it is cancer, whether it is homelessness, whether it is any specific aspect, we all have a kin to it because our father had it, it happened to a friend of mine, whatever that is. Therefore, you have to know about those charities. So Peace Fund Radio is out there to tell you what's happening in your area, when it's happening, and who it is that's taking care of it. So we're now growing in a variety of things. We've got Los Angeles set up. It's a lot of work with a lot of great volunteers that I've had over the years. And now we're going into, we have a School Makes a Difference program, which is going to try something celebs here. We have celebs going into schools, which is kind of fun because a lot of the time when you see kids today, they're sitting there, there's their iPad, and that's all you see at the top of their heads, right? Their phones, that's all you're seeing. And technology is great, don't get me wrong, I love technology, it's a fantastic tool, but it's a tool that has to go with the manipulation of and things that we know as humans that we do, which is a connectivity. So the interactive storytelling program is taking books, giving them to kids, bringing in a celebrity to actually talk to them about, be the narrator in the book, and then make the kids act out the stories, act out the characters in the books. All of a sudden you're saying, can I be Alice? Can I be Peter? Can I be... And all of a sudden you're now getting kids engaged in that book, which then makes it much more likely they're going to go home and read it and get off the iPad and that, or read it on the iPad, I don't care. But they're having the reading skills. Because in America today, in 2020, you've got 123 million high-skilled jobs available in this country. There will be only 50 million Americans that are qualified to fulfill those jobs. So what's going to happen? You're going to have to outsource it and bring other people in and take the jobs elsewhere, which is going to have an effect on our economy and our communities. So I want to be part of the solution of how to change that. I'm very thankful for it. I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot of things about directing. I mean, I directed some of the episodes of Highlander, which I thought was really instructional, educational for me as an actor. And I think a lot of actors should direct because then they know why a director's telling them to stand in a certain place or not. I directed 4 of the episodes, but then I realised it's like anything. It's like I'm dealing with the sword experience. Every time you do something, you realise, oh, I need to deal with this, oh, I need to deal with that. Directors are really, there are a lot of different directors. Michael Bay is a visual director. He deals with a lot of visuals. Some other directors are much more personal directors that deal with character, so they can tell an actor what to do. So I think actors make the best directors a lot of the time. I just watched a film. It's about, and I can't remember the name, but some of you will remember it. You'll probably shout it out in a minute. But it's about 4 soldiers that went to Afghanistan and they got caught behind the lines. Lone Survivor. See, it's also, I know somebody would know it. And that was directed by an actor. And I thought, I didn't even realize, I know who it was, and I thought, wow, because they were talking about is how do you deal with that situation? How do you talk to each other? An actor will know what that part of it is so that it becomes more real rather than dealing with the surface stuff, which a lot of big films, I think, have the problem of doing. Some films, how many times have you gone to the theatre and sat there and gone, wow, they had all these explosions and all this stuff, but there's something missing in it for me, I don't know what it is. And I've come away from that not feeling like, it was an okay movie, but it just left me wanting something. And I think sometimes it comes from wanting to do all the big stuff. Highlander had that problem too, the Highlander films. A lot of the time they were dealing with, let's make it from outer space. The producers deny that ever happened, by the way. Let's make it about all this stuff, not about this stuff. And a lot of the time, why series like Highlander work, we were dealing with this stuff. We were dealing with, what's your issue? You're a friend of mine, why are you doing this? You have a mental issue, how's that to deal with throughout your life? I've lost my lover for that matter. It's a personal, human issue that we're dealing with, and that's what you guys connect to. It's what I connect to when I watch a movie. So a lot of the time I think we get lost in all of this bang that, you know, it's not as interesting. So directors have that job to tell that story. Excuse me. Anybody have any other questions? One more? Okay. Because they'll keep me off the stage in a minute.
We mentioned earlier that you'd like to use some of those superpowers. Do you have like any superheroes you'd like to play?
Superhero I'd like to play?
Yeah.
You know, it's always funny that I think we've gone through the gamut of superheroes, almost. But there's always one that comes out, you go, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I mean, what was it, Ant-Man? The one that just came out? Yeah. Totally different take on a superhero. I thought, oh, that's really cool. And Deadpool. I mean, Deadpool was that. Actually, I've got something surprise for people on the LA. I'm not going to tell you what it is because you'll probably tweet it. It'll be a surprise. But Deadpool is a really interesting concept because it totally has tongue-in-cheek type of looking at the camera. It's also a wink to the movie industry, the way he talks about things. That type of stuff is really fun to do. Now, whether there are existing ones, my social media guy told me of one that was interesting. But Marvel's had a great run. Somebody's going to come up with another one. I don't know if I want to play Superman or any of those. I'm too old now for that anyway. Because going through the sky with a cape doesn't work for me. Supergirl doesn't work either. You know, I don't know if there's any that I'd like to play. I mean, Deadpool would be a great way to play it, actually, but Ryan Reynolds has already got that taken. You know, Ryan Reynolds was actually put up for Highlander. He was going to do. There's a new Highlander movie supposed to be coming out, which is supposed to be like $100 million. And Ryan Reynolds a couple of years ago was going to play the Highlander. I don't think he would have been the best choice for Highlander. I think he's a fantastic choice for Deadpool.
Oh, yes.
You know, I think, you know, so I think each actor has to really, you know, be the right choice for that particular role. So that would be my answer to that one. You know, I love superheroes. I think it's great to have. I mean, there's a new series out now. Is there it's like the X-Men? It's not Shield, not Agents of Shield. There's another one. No, it's not. It's I just saw it last night. It's, you know, you'll see it coming out. He's got superpowers and he's the most dangerous mutant ever.
Legion!
Say again?
Legion!
What is it?
Legion!
Legion, that's it. Thank you so much. I knew you came in for something. Yeah, Legion. Yeah, so that's another whole genre. And the visual effects. That's the great thing about visual effects. They've got cheaper, so therefore you can now see bigger things. But again, as long as they make sure that they have that connection with people and don't just put their brother-in-law's daughter in the role because they're going to fund the movie, which that happens as well, then at least you'll get characters that portray the things that the visual effects give you the fun part of what that is. Well, I think everybody else is coming in, not for me, but for somebody else, but that's okay. Highlander, you know, how long do I have left? What's that? I'm done. That was good timing, wasn't it? That was really good. Get off the stage and come back later. I want to thank you. I mean, as I said, I have a lot of things that are going to happen very shortly, which is cool, but I want to thank you for following Highlander and all the stuff I did. Without you guys, and this is one thing people say to me today, they say, what do you think? And I have to mention this because I think it's important to mention. A lot of people talk about, back in the 80s and 90s, this was the geeks, your geeks. And I look at people and I go, really? Well, Warner Brothers and all the studios, Sony and everybody else, now look to the geeks and go, man, you can make some money off you guys. And now it's not geeks anymore, it's people that are avid watchers. And what are geeks? Geeks are somebody that actually wants to, are passionate about something. Football, 100,000 people, 60,000 people in a stadium, half of them are painted up from one end to the other, and they go, ah! They got these faces. What are they? They are just exactly the geeks. They just have a passion for something else. So I think this industry has changed in the past 15 years, drastically changed, because now Hollywood's gone. This is not just a genre anymore. This is a mainstream. And I want to thank you for that, because without you guys, without doing that, you wouldn't see the movies you have. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.